Summertime is heating up at Global Voice Broadcasting. Hot music, hot talk, and hot topics. All day, every day, 24/7. You don't want to miss a minute on Global Voice Broadcasting.
I highly recommend Ms. Hicks. Her books, her CDs are encouraging.
I bought her book, A Hill to Climb. She's a very inspirational speaker.
And I look forward to one day being able to work with her.
Your power lies within you. Let it loose.
Aspiration, inspiration, motivation, edification, determination. These are the keys of life success brought to you by none other than award-winning author, motivational lecturer, business consultant, and much more as she gets you aimed to your purpose. And now, ladies and gentlemen, young and elder, from Hollywood to the entire world, here is your host of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, Louise Hicks, along with her co-host, yours truly, Kennon Wesley Mason.
When you're born, usually you're born into a dynasty or an empire, right? You're born like as a junior or, you know, following in your father's footsteps. You always tell your father, he did this, or your father, or your grandfather, he did this, or we got this, or the family heirlooms. There's none of that in the outer city. I call it the outer city because we left out. There's nothing. We don't get any family heirlooms, the family crest, all that stuff that you would think is so important was meaningless. I feel as though I'm cheated because instead of me fulfilling my prophecy, I have to start one. Instead of me, you know, doing a good job and carrying on the empire, I have to build one. And that's a hell of a job for a 21-year-old. You know what I'm saying? That's a hell of a job for any youngster, male or female, to have to build an empire for your family. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, especially when the odds is that, you know that somebody else who lives in the inner city, the real inner city, suburbia, who, when he's born, 16, he gets a car, automatic. You know, there's money in the bank for college. You know, it's Christmases, go to vacation somewhere. Our vacations was down the street, cross town, grandma's house. Like, it's like you got a friend that you don't never look out for. You know, you dressed up in jewels. Now America's got jewels and they paid and everything, and they lending money to everybody except us. And it's like, you know, everybody need a little help on their way to being, you know, self-reliant. I mean, if this is truly a melting pot in the country where we care about it and Lady Liberty got a hand like this, she really loves us, then we really need to be like that. And it needs to be the black kids. And if there's a white person who got money, then you need to help them. You need to help black kids, Mexican kids, Korean kids, whatever. But it needs to be real. And it need to be before we all die and then you say, oh, I made a mistake. We should have gave them some money. We really should have helped these folks. It's going to be too late. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when you got to pay your own karma. It's too much money here. I mean, nobody should be hitting lotto for 36 million and we got people starving in the streets. That is not idealistic, that's just real. There's no way that these people should own planes and their people don't have houses, apartments, shacks, drawers, pants. I know you're rich. I know you got $40 billion, but can you just keep it to one house? You only need one house. And if you only got 2 kids, can you just keep it to 2 rooms? I mean, why have 52 rooms and you know there's somebody with no room? It just don't make sense to me. It don't. And then these people celebrate Christmas. They got big trees, huge trees, all the little trimmings. Everybody got gifts, and it's my story.
Hello, world. How's everybody today? I'm your host, Louise Hicks of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, and welcome today.
Yes. And I am Kennon Mason. I want to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone listening to Aim to Purpose, the radio show, as we bring you another special edition, and we're bringing it back home to right here in Southern California as we have 2 special guests here today, Jay Allen and Miss Z of the Jay Allen Show.
And the Let's Talk About It show, Miss Z.
Yes.
And we have a great topic for you today too. And we thank you all for joining us as usual. And feel free to call in and just chime in on the conversation with your comments at 1-323-522-5482.
That's right.
And we have a great topic today. Our topic is
the awakening.
The awakening of melanated people.
Yes.
In case you're not sure what melanated people are, we're going to talk about it.
That's right.
And we have our great radio personalities here with us today, and we're so glad to have them in-house. But first, let's share a little bit of information. We were saddened yesterday when we heard the news about Bobby Christina Brown. Apparently, she passed away yesterday. And our thoughts and prayers go out to her family, and we wish them all love and peace. And as you are aware, that's the daughter, the one and only daughter of Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown, the icon Whitney Houston, and the pop R&B star Bobby Brown. I remember Bobby Brown used to sing, and I loved it. That's my prerogative. And Miss Whitney, I will always love you.
That's right.
And we were saddened by that information. And on another note, I wanted to just send out thoughts and prayers also, because it's been a lot in the news about Miss Sandra Bland, who was found dead in her cell in Texas. And apparently she was stopped on July the 10th by police officers in Prairie View, Texas. And I know exactly where that is. It's right outside of Dallas, because I have lived in Texas, born in Louisiana, but lived in Texas. So we want to send our thoughts and prayers out. And I understand today, from what I saw on the internet, they have some type of special investigation going. Does anyone else know anything about that?
I haven't heard anything about it, but I'm pretty sure that the news will continue as as they get more information on that particular incident, as we've been seeing over the last year or so. Many incidences have happened across the country like this here, not necessarily in the prison system, but in front of people's homes, out on the streets. And it's almost it's become like an epidemic almost, because we see it so often. And it's just we're going to be here to talk about that and a whole lot more with our special guest today.
Yes, we are. And with that said, what we're going to do is go right ahead and get into what our topic is today, the awakening of melanated people. And we're going to read you the bio of and tell you a little bit about these radio personalities we have in the house with us today.
Radio personalities with other radio personalities. It's a rarity in radio, but we're doing it right here on Aim to Purpose. Starting with Jay Allen is a strong, confident being dedicated to spreading knowledge and awareness through images, dialogue, and being active in the community. He is the program director at Universal Radio, where he hosts 2 shows a week, The Jay Allen Show on Monday nights, and Sensitive About My You-Know-What on Open Mic Poetry.
Sugar Honey Iced Tea.
That's right. Jay Allen also is the creator of the Blacks Be Like page. This is on Facebook, along with Jay Valentina, where they share images that uplift and spread knowledge and awareness catered to African culture. He's worked as a counselor for young teenage boys at Washington High School, located in Los Angeles, California, and has dedicated his life to positivity, love, and spreading truth like a contagious disease. And next we go on to Zimria Davis, known by her blog talk radio alias Miss Z, is all too familiar with the entertainment world. At age 16, she started performing for various artists as a backup dancer, video extra, and later studying telecommunications in college. Around her late 20s, she decided to pursue her first love, medicine, becoming a nurse. Her motto is live healthy, think healthy, and love healthy. With the help of the universe, she has returned to entertainment full circle. She has become a host of her own show, Let's Talk About It, on Universal Radio, as well as co-founder of the site on Facebook called My Sister's Keeper. So with that being said, let's welcome, aim to purpose welcome to our special guests, Jay Allen and Miss Z.
Welcome to our show.
Thank you. We are honored to be here.
Yes,
thank you for inviting us.
Have you here because we have such a great topic, and we are melanated people all here together today.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Right.
So we're excited about this topic, and what we hope to share is shed some light on how to get aim to your purpose, because that's what this show is all about. And as we showed you at the top of the hour, this video that was narrated by
was the late great Tupac Shakur.
That's right, Tupac Shakur.
Yes.
That's right.
And that was powerful. And the video is a little longer. I believe it's about 15 minutes, but we only showed you the intro of it so that you can get an idea of the power of the show that we're going to talk about today. And we want to empower you, because Aim to Purpose is about you waking up every morning with joy, peace, love, and happiness, knowing who you are and knowing that you can have all this prosperity that you want, and you can have anything your heart desire. I found that out at the age of 12. Growing up in Louisiana, I knew sitting on my grandmother's front porch that I was going to be an author one day, a best-selling author. And
award-winning at that.
Award-winning at that. So I'm excited. In fact, pick up my book if you haven't already, A Hill to Climb, A Teenager's Battle with Cancer, Depression, and Drug Addiction. And I wrote it from the perspective of a mother who was dealing with a son that was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 14 and went on to battle drug addiction and depression. And we started a Go Mental campaign that we're headed to Washington, D.C. They probably don't know it yet, but
They do
we're going
now.
to come because the mental health system is broken in America. And not only that, we have a great crisis in America. And that's one of the reasons I'm glad to have our guest in the house today to shed some light on melanated people.
Because it's all relevant, and all of it ties in together.
Absolutely. And this gentleman, Jay Allen, I was so inspired by him because he did a video on Facebook. And I saw it, and I was so inspired. And he went to school with a gentleman that I know very well, Damian Jeltz, who's like a son to me, and he's the one that shared information about Jay Allen, and from there, Jay Allen shared about Miss Z. So we're so happy to have you both on the show today, and I like what it says about, in your bio, Jay, strong.
Yeah.
Strong. Confident.
Oh, yes. Definitely.
And that's what we got to be. We got to be strong and confident. And I like what you said, Miss Z, about you live, love, and think.
Healthy.
Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's it.
That's right.
So let's
live
get
healthy,
into,
think healthy, and love healthy.
Right, and
There
that's
you go.
important.
Say that.
And being a nurse, you know all about that.
Right.
So let's get into the awakening of melanated people. And this topic you gave to me.
Yes, I did.
Why did you choose this? You gave me a few topics, but we decided on this one. What was your reasoning behind this, Jay?
Well, this topic right here I think is very important due to it's time for all of us to kind of, wake up, kind of see what's going on, smell the coffee. I think right now more than ever is a time where, it's always been a rough time for us as a people. But I think right now in particular is very important for people to start to become enlightened. If we really know the chemistry behind our consciousness and the way that it works with the planets, so to speak. Right now we are in the age of Aquarius, so that's why you see a lot of our people waking up. And this is something that I never thought I would see in my lifetime. You know what I mean? As far as so many people denouncing the things that they grew up with, certain things we were taught in school, through family and all of that. I see a lot of people on Facebook, different groups and things like that. And it's a joyous thing because this is actually what is supposed to be taking place.
Right. You're right. And Miss Z, what inspired you to get involved in radio? And what are your thoughts on this topic we're talking about?
I'm with the Jay as far as waking up our people, and people in general. Everybody is supposed to know the knowledge that's out there, and it's been hidden for so long, and we should all know this knowledge. As far as radio is concerned, when Jay and I started this station, we basically wanted to wake up our people, and we wanted to get different messages, whether it be about consciousness or various topics that's out there. We wanted to wake up our people and have them educated on various topics and no longer be asleep on certain situations and certain knowledge that's out there.
Right, because that's what was talked about in the video up the top of the hour. It's kind of like the have and have nots.
Exactly.
And that is not unique to us just as black people in this country. However, I can understand the focus being more on our people because of the atrocities that our people have suffered in this country.
Exactly.
That is supposed to be the land of the free. And I say supposed to be because on our show, we're about real talk.
That's right.
Real people, real purpose.
That's why we're here.
And our show is about enlightening and building and bridging the cultural gap because we're all in this world together.
Right.
And unless we learn to get along together and understand our history and have other people to understand our history, we're going to continue to have this problem.
Right.
And no one needs to be afraid of our history either.
Absolutely.
Right.
You know, I mean, for decades now, many people don't want to accept a truth about just people in general and their origins. You know, if I were to tell people that that human remains were found in Sudan that go back some millions of years, people would laugh at that notion or idea.
Correct.
Because we've been told for so many hundreds of years that that's not the case, that somebody else is the beginning, or Adam and Eve. We hear about that being the first people on the earth.
Yes.
How would we know that those were their names, and how would we know that they were the first people, Adam and Eve? When you go deeper down into the rabbit hole, you'll learn what Adam truly means and where Eve comes from.
And we can speak on that too.
Right.
But see, you know what? That's how heavy the indoctrination goes.
That's right.
You know,
That's
even as I don't want to go too far because I know we got some points we're going to touch on. But even as a child, if you take a 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old,
yes,
and we're talking about religion, they are already in fear of going to hell.
Absolutely.
So when we're talking about an adult, it's really hard to shake them out of the things that they've been taught.
Yeah.
That's how heavy the
right.
indoctrination goes.
That's right.
And that's so sad
Yes,
because
it
we're a
is.
product of our environment and we know
Correct.
it goes back. And when you think about it, back in the day, spirituality, they call it religion. I'm not the one that thinks a lot about religion because in my concept of religion, it's the most divisive and supposed to be about Christianity, and it's the most divisive establishment along with politics in the nation.
Right.
And our kids are so indoctrinated because of a lack of knowledge and understanding. And I know, Jay, you were saying your own experience that caused you to awaken. And what was most significant about your own experience that caused you to really start thinking about these things in more depth?
Right. Well, I'll say this. I was actually raised in a really religious family. Okay, my grandfather he owned his own theology school. My mother was a choir director, grandmother the first lady, auntie the best singer in the church. Okay,
That story, huh?
Right? That story right there.
Yes.
So, I
You
grew
were
up with
on holy lockdown.
pretty much, yeah, pretty much. So, I was doing this most of my life, and I would say in my early 30s, I was still doing it. You know, I joined the church. I was going to church with my daughter and things like that. And I met a friend. That actually I knew him in high school. Now in high school, this guy used to carry a Bible every day to school, preaching in school, things like that. We lived in the same apartment buildings when I was 30 years old. So I noticed a change in him, and I noticed his beliefs were different and things like that. And so I asked him about it, and we just started spending time together. So we started spending time together. He started showing me different things, and my mind was blown. I just wanted to know more and more and more. And he never actually told me okay, this is right, this is wrong. I think when you have a good teacher, they just point you in the right direction and they let you figure it out yourself. Because there was a lot of things that he told me, you know what, I can't really explain it to you. You just got to figure it out yourself. And to this day, there are things that I still connect the dots with. Like, oh, okay, that's what he was talking about. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was just me just being open. I think that's the first thing you got to do is just be open to actually, you know, look at this stuff or read this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think, like I said, the indoctrination goes so heavy to where you have tunnel vision.
That's
vision.
right.
Yes.
And what I like to say is like, I was telling somebody today, now, if we're talking about building a house, if you build a house from scratch, okay, and you go to Home Depot or you go to Lowe's, you're not just going to buy one book to ensure that you have a sturdy, solid house.
That's right.
You're going to buy and read several books.
Right.
Okay, it's the same with the body. The body is the temple.
That's right.
Okay,
right.
so we cannot just use one source to make sure that we have a solid, sturdy spiritual essence. We have to read everything. And then when you do, you will see where everything... It all correlates together. And that's when you do. But like I said, some people have that tunnel vision to where they just don't want to see it. You know, they refuse to.
Wow.
They do.
We have a caller on too. We have a caller. Caller, are you there? Caller.
Caller, hello, are you there? Hello.
All right, we're gonna keep it moving. Okay. Caller in the 773 area code. Okay, we're gonna keep it moving.
Okay. Well, caller, if for some reason we got cut you off or something, please call back. So, Miss Z, I know you have your own show going, and your show is called Let's Talk About It.
Yes.
So, what inspired you to really? I know you've hit on it somewhat, but as a child, did you have this vision to say, well, I want to do this when I grow up?
To be a radio host?
Yes.
Actually, I wanted to grow up and be a successful doctor / Oprah. So
okay, all right.
I was trying to be everything and anything, almost like the president, and rule the world all in one day.
Right.
So when Jay actually approached me about this, I said, yeah, I want to talk to people. I want to have my voice be heard on different topics and different subjects. And that's what basically motivated me to get my own show.
And that's a good thing, because we need to enlighten people. And I know, Jay, you talked about in your video that I saw on Facebook about people thinking for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about melanin first, because you mentioned melanated people. Who are the melanated people, first of all?
Well, we are the melanated people. Every living thing has melanin.
That's right.
Okay. Melanin is a neurochemical that is basically secreted from the pineal or the pituitary gland. Okay. And it is responsible for the nervous system. When they say black people have soul and you move a little bit different, you walk a little bit different, or, you know, if it's Kobe Bryant, he might take it around the back and, you know, dunk it or something. That's melanin. Okay. That's melanin. And it's also responsible for having more of a how can I put it, a high intellectual propensity. Like it was said that a lot of the people from our history, okay, melanin was the cause of them. They created the sciences, the mathematics. They were in tune with the cosmos, astrology, and things like that. And they do a lot of, when we talk about America, Europe, they do every 3 to 5 years, they do studies on melanin. It's really very, very important.
There's
very,
conferences
very
that actually
exactly,
happen
exactly.
strictly
right
about melanin.
That's
And
you're right.
You're right, because once upon a time, I know I had not heard anything about melanin. And as a kid growing up, as I got older and I went to college, I started hearing about it. But all I pretty much heard about it was the skin pigmentation.
Yep.
And what we did have Narzia Allen Bay on our show. I think it was October of last year, and he's a young award-winning filmmaker. I think he's only 24 or so, and he was on our show, and he's doing this documentary called
Melanin
the God Particle. And I can't wait until it comes out, because he's really going to shed some light on that. And, you know, we do have to think, because everybody does have melanin, but according to the understanding, as you're saying,
Right.
we as the darker skinned people have
Exactly.
more melanin.
More.
Right.
A lot of times in lighter skin, is the pineal gland is calcified.
Right.
Right.
Right. And the calcification of the pineal and the pituitary gland as well hinders, if you will, the full capacity, if you will,
Correct.
of melanin's use through us and also other darker people of the earth, not just African people.
Right.
Right.
We're talking about the original Aborigines,
Right.
the original, for example, Asian cultures from hundreds of years ago. They were darker skinned.
Correct.
Right.
Some things that people don't know, the images of Jesus and the images of Buddha. The Buddha is not the Asian person that we've been conditioned to believe. Buddha is actually a dark-skinned man from South India. Those images have been pretty much altered to have a look totally opposite of its origin. The same goes with Jesus, or we call Yeshua.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Correct.
The images that we've been force-fed pretty much are not historically accurate. And so because there is a story of melanin that's been literally stripped from us for all of these hundreds of years. We've been stripped of the name, the language, the history, and now we have an opportunity to learn it and utilize the power of what's called melanin to the highest degree.
That's right.
And
Right.
that is so great, because once we better understand each other, that fear factor can go away. Because so many people are walking around here saying, oh, you get on an elevator, they fear black people, particularly black men, and all the things that are going on. It's because of lack of understanding. And it's also a lack of us understanding our history.
Right.
And we learn these things because we got to start reading and sharing with our children. And I brought this up because I brought in some books today that I want to share with our audience. I love to read. I've been reading since I was a little girl, and I knew at the age of 12 I used to go and get books. I grew up in the country, so to speak, and we had a bookmobile. Most people probably not even aware of this. And every summer, that's how we read. We would get our books through the bookmobile that would come in the neighborhood once a week. And I used to read, and I'd see all this stuff happening all across. Look at this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I mean, we all, so many visionaries. Napoleon Hill is an author, a white author at that wrote this book back in 1937, and it was published. I don't know when he wrote it, but I believe it was published in 1937. And it's called Think and Grow Rich. And I know, Jay, you were just talking about, I'm going to share a quick quote because this just hit on what you said here.
Okay.
It says, there are no limitations to the mind except those we acknowledge. Both poverty and riches are the offspring of thought.
That's right.
Right.
So this has to do with everything. If you don't read, you don't think, you don't teach your children, they're going to miss out on a lot.
That's right. That's right.
And you talk about that, thinking for yourself.
You gotta think for yourself. You know, I think a lot of what we live through and go through in life has a lot to do with what we're thinking. Has a lot to do with thought. You know, back in the day, I really didn't even know anything about that. You know, when I was wrapped up into, religion and things like that, I spent a lot of time just, if I was in a bad mood, I spent a lot of time waiting on Jesus. You know what I mean? When in reality, I was putting myself through that over and over again because that was the type of mood that I was in. When I realized how powerful I was myself, and even the Bible says that it takes a willing vessel. So nothing can be done unless you put the work forth.
Right.
Okay? So when I realized the power was in me, then, hey, everything started to turn around. Any type of negativity in my life, I don't deal with it. You know, I try to push it to the back. It's just positive, positive, positive. That's it.
That's right.
That's it.
That's how it should be. I
Of
mean,
course.
Were you on holy lockdown, Miss Z?
No, unfortunately, I was not on holy lockdown. My father was a Hebrew Israelite, and my mom, she just went against the grain as far as my grandparents being Baptist and Christian. So I was awake with one eye open. Let's say that. So.
So you were kind of on the cusp of going that route, other than the religious route, because your parents were taught something totally different.
Yeah.
Or they believed in something totally different.
Exactly. I didn't wake up every day, every Sunday and go to church. And, if I did attend with like a friend or a family member or whatever, it was basically to go get Jesus juice and crackers. Other than that, I didn't care. I didn't care anything about going to church. Right.
Well, I tell you, I was on pretty much holy lockdown. We had to go every Sunday growing up. My grandmother had us go. My mother wasn't. Now, that's why I think I got my perspective more from my mother in terms of spirituality versus religionality.
Right.
Because my mother was not of that caliber that believed in fact, she would not even hang Jesus on her wall because she said Jesus is not white. And she knew from the description of the Bible that it never described this blue-eyed, blonde, white person. So she would not hang. My grandmother did. She had Jesus hung all over her wall, but my mother didn't. And it kind of reminded me, because I love to read, as I said, here's another book. I read this book, Holy Lockdown, and that's why I said that. Written by Jeremiah Kamara. And in my inquisitive mind, they always called me that nosy gal of yours. That's what they used to tell my parents, because I was always the inquisitive one. And I was reading this book, and it's something that really, in looking at this, it says that there's a lot of rhetoric that goes on in the black church. And it's about stirring up emotions rather than building up people. And I know I experienced some of that.
Yes.
The emotions, the sisters would be turning the benches over and so forth. And emotions would be running high. And we as little kids, we used to sit in the back of the church. We didn't know any better. We'd be laughing because we didn't know any better.
Right.
And I know I had a guest on here, Dr. Esselstyn, who is a retired heart specialist. And he was talking about how to reverse heart disease and prevent heart disease. And he was telling us that it would be a good thing, if we talked about it in church. And I told him that's going to be very difficult to get black people to talk about their health, because many of us don't take care of our health. We are walking medicine cabinets. And I'm 64 and I don't take any medicines. That's because I chose to do my own homework.
Right.
And so it's just address how you I know you had a show and talking about holy lockdown. You had a show that I looked at and I never got the answer to it. Was Jesus coming to save us?
Yeah.
And,
Go ahead and speak on it.
Don't wait too long. Actually, no, he's not. The power is within you yourself. When we look at everything, like I said, astrology, mythology, you can put all this stuff together and then figure it out. So God really is consciousness. God really is an energy. It's not actually a literal man in the sky that's coming down to save you. Because I say this to people now, if he was real, now black people, we have been on the we've been a low man on the totem pole of society for forever.
Right, long time.
Jesus, come save us.
Right.
Black men, black women, we make up over 85% of the prison population. Jesus, come save us. Come turn this around. Okay, how long do we actually have to wait? This is actually a trick that has been played on us. And when I wanted to mention, when you talked about them hanging the white Jesus, it's white Jesus in every church. And the thing you got to think about is if the Bible clearly states that this man was black, then why did they break their necks to change his image across the whole world?
Power.
You know what I mean? The whole exactly power. Okay.
And that divide and conquer. And
Exactly.
like I said, this is a show about bridging the cultural gap. This is not just to divide and conquer us as black people.
Right.
It is to divide and conquer the masses, as we can see that going on right now.
Right.
Correct.
It's the elite taking power and controlling our minds, bodies, and spirit if we allow them to do that.
Because ultimately they don't care what color you are.
No,
Really.
they don't.
They
Color
really
does
don't.
not matter.
It
Oh
doesn't.
no.
They want to keep you poor and keep you working for them.
That's right.
And let me just read this right quick because it touched on just what you said.
Okay.
This is from Jeremiah Kamara's book. It said, "Our collective problems will not be prayed away. They will only be resolved by making smarter adjustments to the way we think. Preachers have to move out of the shouting age and into one that encourages congregations to engage in critical thinking."
That's right.
So what do you guys have to say to that?
Go ahead.
Critical thinking.
Critical
Go
think-
ahead.
Go ahead. You go first.
You should, no, go
I'll
ahead.
piggyback off you. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, I think that's what the Bible actually teaches against. Because it says, lean not within your own understanding. So it's like, okay, you gave me a brain to think. So that's what I'm supposed to do with it. And I think that that's exactly what it does. It just basically boxes you in. And I mean, there's so many, now I don't say the Bible is not, I'm not going to say the Bible is a bad book.
Right.
It's a good book, but the problem comes in is where the way the churches teach
That's
its followers
the
to
problem.
interpret it.
That's right.
And
It's a metaphysical book.
That's the problem.
It teaches you
Right.
how to get to a higher consciousness.
That's right.
We
Right.
talked about Adam and Eve earlier. We talked about atom, ATOM, and
Yes.
evolution.
Right.
So it's and in the black church, we've been through hundreds of years of them just, when are we going to get a new message? We're teaching the same thing, okay? Jesus rose on Easter, okay? He was born. Jesus wept. I mean, pastors, every Sunday we get these feel good sermons
Absolutely.
to get us in the mood. We got the music going, that raises the kundalini, and a lot of people, we get to dancing, we get to shouting, but it's the music, it's the music. Nobody is ever catching the Holy Ghost outside of church without that music going, okay?
Right.
If we put on a beat right now, we all gonna start bobbing our heads.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Go ahead, Miss C.
Like I said, as far as me being in the church, I really don't know the dynamics of all, but I know that when I did attend or whatever, it was basically about mind control. It was about feel good real quick and then give me your money pretty soon because we're gonna close this and we have another service that's gonna come up and I gotta get my money again. So it was all about control. I've never seen anything like I left out and thought that Jesus was gonna fall out the sky and come save me, because he never did.
Right.
Anytime I know, what I'm saying, watching my grandmother or whatever cry upon him, he has never came.
Right.
And I was like, I'm looking like, I don't know what you're waiting for. Let's just go and get up off these
Right.
knees, and then we just have to do what we got to do.
Right.
Let me say something real quick about when we talk about righteousness or righteous people and things like that. The people that I know that attend church and the followers of the faith and things like that, it's like they go get a fix, and I used to do the same thing, go get my fix on Sunday and live my nonsense the rest of the week, come back and get my fix again, you know.
Right.
I really can't tell the difference between the people who walk in the faith and the normal society.
Right.
Now, people like us, you stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Outcasts, okay? And to be actually true, it's like, that's what Jesus was.
Yeah.
Jesus only stepped in the church to tear it up.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Right.
Because of the leaders of the church and things were teaching the false teachings. And each of us are all Jesuses. There's no one Jesus.
Right.
Jesus is just a story of how to get to a higher consciousness, as of every character in the Bible is you.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So.
Or every character can be you.
Correct.
Right,
Correct.
exactly.
It can, every character
Right.
can be you. And something you touched upon about the church and the Bible. Now, I read the Bible. I go to church sometimes. I'm not one of these people that's in church every time the door is open.
Right.
But I listen. And it's the leaders that are misleading people.
Right.
And Jeremiah points, because the church is just a building. You're going into worship. It's the leadership within the church.
Correct.
And when you see these churches in these communities, black churches particularly, when you go into the black community, you can have a church almost built of gold. And what do you see surrounding that church? Liquor stores,
Yes.
run-down grocery
Homeless people.
stores, homeless people
That's
that
right.
they won't even help.
That's right.
Yet these churches are raking in billions of dollars annually.
Right.
And
right.
what do they do with that money? Are they helping our people? But
No.
yet they get up,
Right.
wolves in sheep's clothing, as I
Right.
call many of them. And this is not all ministers, because
Right.
there are some fine ministers out here
Right.
that are doing some things to help the black community. But for the most part, as Jeremiah said, they're not teaching critical thinking. I know, I've been there. I was young into the church. In fact, I think they taught you more little critical thinking than these ministers are today, because many of them now, they're all about profit. It's
That's
a
it.
business for them.
That's it.
I wanted to talk a little bit about this book, Outwitting the Devil, a little bit more. Now, this book was written in 1938, but it was not published until 2011. The reason being, Napoleon Hill, who was a visionary, felt uncomfortable publishing this book because of what he was talking about in Outwitting the Devil. And I just want to share with you a little bit of what he talked about, because many of us are on holy lockdown, and we don't have a clear understanding. And he shares with us about drifters and non-drifters. And after we talk about this, we will go
Take
to
our
the
first
break.
break.
We'll
That's
take
right.
our first break. But let me just share with you what he said about drifters and non-drifters. He said, and this is his conversation actually with the devil in his vision, because he was really talking about vision, hope, faith, knowledge, and taking the necessary action to get you where you need to go. And this is the question he was asking: is the non-drifter born with some mental, physical, or spiritual advantage not available to the drifter? And the answer is no. The major difference between the drifter and the non-drifter is something equally available to both. It is simply the prerogative right of each to use his own mind and think for himself. And that was something that Jay Allen was talking about earlier, thinking for yourself. Because we know, as Jeremiah Kamara was saying, we don't always use our critical thinking to think, and we are, in a sense, on holy lockdown. And when you think about it, we'll talk a little bit more about that once we go to a break and we come back.
Yep, and we're going to be right back, and don't you go nowhere.
This edition of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, is brought to you by L. Hicks Consulting Services. When you want the best in business coaching, life coaching, or perhaps your organization, business, or company is in need of a dynamic speaker for an upcoming workshop or seminar, contact Louise Hicks for L. Hicks Consulting Services at 1-562-310-1495. From anywhere around the world, that's 1-562-310-1495. For more information about Louise Hicks and her consulting services, visit her website at www.louisehicks.biz. Again, that's www.louisehicks.biz. Or call 1-562-310-1495. L. Hicks Consulting Services, where professionalism is top priority.
We're back, and thank you all again for joining us. Once again, I'm Louise Hicks of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, and we are talking today in studio with our special guest from the Jay Allen Show.
Yes.
And Mr. Jay Allen, of course, and Miss Z from Let's Talk About It.
That's right.
And we're so happy to have them in the house with us today.
That's right. And I got a question for Miss Z, because you have a health background. Your motto is live healthy, think healthy, and love healthy. So I want to make a statement, and then you can kind of elaborate on it, if you will. And I want to tell everyone this that's listening: soul food is not food for the soul. Now, can you agree with that, or would you agree with that?
Right. It is not for the soul.
And explain why.
Unfortunately, soul food was basically considered the scraps in slavery. So, I mean, and we just take this hand down as far as tradition. Soul food every day, I would say, is not healthy. Having it once or twice during the seasons of, what is it, Thanksgiving or
Right.
Christmas or something like that, it's not that bad. It's not detrimental to you. But if you're having it every day, yes, it is. And the way it's prepared is what's making it bad. All the salt, all the fat, everything that's in there is bad.
Yeah. And every Sunday, it seems like many of us have seen the movie Soul Food.
Right.
We've seen the series Soul Food. And it takes me back to an episode of the Boondocks, if you can believe it, where they talked about that particular movie and how Big Mama passed away from diabetes, eating the same stuff every single Sunday. And as soon as she passed away, here they come again, eating the exact same food that killed their mother.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
That's how ingrained that kind of lifestyle is in us.
Right.
You know?
And it's so sad because it really holds us back from the success and freedom that we deserve in life, because nobody was born to struggle. And because of our indoctrination, as you stated, Jay Allen, and I want you to expand on that some more as well, we are so indoctrinated, and we are such a product of our environment until we don't understand how to outwit the devil. And not, like I said, this book by Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil, is the secret to freedom and success. And I would suggest to read this book so that you can get more enlightened. And that's what we're talking about. The awakening of melanated people. And us being the darker skinned people, we have more melanin. We are more of the melanated people. However, if you notice, we are in crisis in America. In fact, we are more in crisis as the masses, not all of us, than any ethnicity in America, actually.
Correct.
Yeah.
And until we learn, as Maya Angelou said, until we learn to do better, we should do better once we learn to do better. But that doesn't mean we always take the advice. And Jay, talk a little bit about something you said, how to help your children to get better.
Just showing them the truth. Basically, it's pretty plain. It's pretty simple. Just showing them the truth, step by step. It's not as hard as it would be to share this information with an adult who's been wrapped around the religion and the things society has thrown at them for decades. So the young mind is really open. Really, it is. It's open. You can sit down. You can teach your children about health. You can teach them about melanin. You can teach them about our history, and they actually love it. You do it in a way that you can make it fun for them. Yeah. And it's a great thing. It's a great thing. You want to teach your children how great they are. And not fall into because the stuff on TV now is really ridiculous. You know? Back when we were young, we kind of slowly saw things coming into play as far as television. Now it's just like ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
You can't sit your child in front of the TV all day. I mean.
And you know what that's about? It's about the distraction. The elite people have really bamboozled and brainwashed us as the masses. And it's not just limited to black people as the masses, as we mentioned earlier. This is the masses. We are bamboozled because the boob tube, the television, is a distraction to divide and conquer all of us, to keep us on lockdown. And as black people, we are on a holy lockdown.
Well, you see more black people on television more today than any other time in television history.
Yes.
The only thing is the images that are being portrayed. And the visuals that we get every day.
And they affect the subconscious when we as a people are spiritual people.
Absolutely.
But brought over here to Western civilization, they operate on a physical level.
Right.
And we don't rule on a physical level. We rule in the spiritual.
That's right.
That's right. We're spirit-led people.
Correct.
And we need to get that ingrained in us on how spirit-led we really are and how to assess invest in ourselves and our children and teach our children our history, because they're not going to teach it to you in the schools. The schools are by design to not give you the information necessary for you to come out of high school or college being prepared to financially understand how to take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's right. And with that, we're going to take our final break, and we're going to come back with some final words from our special guests, Jay Allen and Miss Z. Don't you go nowhere.
Hello, world. Hey, it's the 1-year anniversary of Aim to Purpose, the radio show. But first, we thank the staff at Global Voice Broadcasting for the platform and the opportunity. Go to gvbstudios.com/show/A2P. Next, we thank our wonderful guests that have graced the airwaves of Aim to Purpose over the past year, like Dr. Caldwell B. Esselstyn from the documentary Forks Over Knives, Nazir Alim Bey with his soon-to-be-released documentary entitled Melanin, The God Particle. From the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, Dr. Jeffrey A. Shaler, and Professor Baron K. Brown, who's become a regular on the show. Internationally, we've had guests such as Bridget Nkuna and Sarah Jane Farrell from South Africa, award-winning author F.T. Camargo from Brazil, Brenda Pierce, the Empowered Nurse from Canada, double Olympic medalist from the British cycling team Brian Steele, and many other great guests that have openly shared their knowledge, humor, wit, and wisdom with the A2P universe. And most important, we thank you, the listening and viewing audience, for tuning in each and every Monday. Information is power, and the more our audience grows, the more open minds that'll receive the information, which makes all of us powerful. So we encourage all of you to spread the word about Aim to Purpose, the radio show. Lastly, if you know someone with a product, business, or foundation that's interested in advertising as a sponsor for the show, contact A2P host Louise Hicks at louisehicks.biz or Shamika Brown at divinebrownmedia.com. Be a part of the A2P movement, as there is always power in numbers of like minds that multiply. And follow us on social media at Aim to Purpose, #A2P. Once again, thank you all from Aim to Purpose, the radio show.
Hello, world, again. We are back again. Louise Hicks, Aim to Purpose. We are here with our special guest, Jay Allen of The Jay Allen Show, and Miss Z of the show Let's Talk About It.
Yes.
And as we are about to wrap up things here, we just have a couple of more questions for Jay Allen. We're going to, to help out our children. What do we do to help our children?
Teach them early, okay? Teach them early. Like I said, I had my daughter in church when she was maybe 2, 3, and, when I went through my awakening, I was like, well, man, how am I going to kind of reverse this? But it's easy with the children because they haven't been indoctrinated as heavy as the adults.
That's right.
So you just pour it on them. And then what I do with my daughter is I actually sit her down and I let her read certain things for herself. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
I ask her, does that make sense? Well, no, Dad, that right there, that really doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Well, you see this right here, and I just teach her as much as I can.
And how old is your daughter?
My daughter is 9 now.
Okay, she's 9 now.
Right, so I just teach her as much as I can. I think with the children, it's a lot easier.
Right.
Because, like I said, they haven't been, so fully indoctrinated and wrapped up into this thing we call religion. So that's the thing. You just keep teaching them. I teach her about the chakras. I teach her about our history. Yeah. Have her watch certain movies and things, and answer all of her questions or whatever.
In fact, what you're saying, you're investing in your family, and that's
definitely
what we must do.
Yeah.
Right. We must invest in ourselves and our families. That's the only way you're going to learn how to come out of this crisis we're in, because as Black people in this country, we are in a crisis,
right?
And we need to face the reality of it.
Right.
We are in a crisis, and we are lagging behind other ethnicities because we have been so indoctrinated on so many things, and it's not all of us, but many of us are.
Yeah, and in the few minutes we have, tell us about your radio show and how people can get to it.
All right, my station is blogtalkradio.com Facebook.com/Universal Radio 2. Okay, my show that I host is called The Jay Allen Show. It comes on Monday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central, and 10 p.m. Eastern. We also have 4 more shows on the station. We have on Wednesday we have You Must Learn. Thursday we have the Open Mic Poetry Show. Friday is the Super Conscious Outlet, and Sunday is Miss Z's Let's Talk About It with Tiffany Gibson. All our shows air at 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central, and 10 p.m. Eastern. Okay. And also you can get in touch with me on my personal page, Facebook.com/The Jay Allen Show. Ms. Z, would you like to give your page?
Oh, yes. And Let's Talk About It. You can find us at www.facebook.com/Let's Talk About It and the number 8. Sunday nights, we bring that fire. So go ahead and check us out, Universal Radio.
There you go.
And that's what you want, fire and passion.
Yes.
And you can always find us at Aim to Purpose, Aim to Purpose Radio on YouTube. All of our shows are archived. We're on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Louise Hicks 51. And www.facebook.com aimed the number 2 purpose, and we are on all the social media outlets really. Right. Twitter at Aim to Purpose, and what is it? I almost said Telegram. What is it called?
That's
Twitter.
Right. Twitter. That's right.
Instagram.
Oh, Instagram.
Okay, Instagram.
And with that said, a couple of more books I just want to share with you quickly.
Real quick.
Black Labor, White Wealth, The Search for Power and Economic Justice. That's by Dr. Claude Anderson. And Powernomics, the National Plan to Empower Black America. And just a quick quote from Dr. Anderson where he says, "The strength of powerless is its knowledge of the powerful." So that's how you get strength. You got to learn and take some knowledge here.
That's right. And with that said, we want to thank our special guests, Jay Allen and Miss Z, for being our special guests here on Aim to Purpose, the radio show. Always insightful, and we love taking it there.
That's right.
Because truth will always set all of us free.
Yes, it will.
Believe it. And with that said,
as I always says at the close of the show, your power lies within you. So let it loose.
Until
next
week. Yes.
Peace.